What's up, everybody? Kevin Goetz here from Mute Profit, helping you achieve musical success. So today, we're going to be talking about how to be more motivated. That's something everybody wants to know, right? And whether what you're trying to do is finish a to-do list, finish homework, or in my case, get to work on more music and actually, get something made, it's all the same exact mental process, all of it. And really, I can be summed up as what you focus on is what you want to do. And of course, I'm going to flesh that out with a bunch of weird psychology and stuff that no one actually cares about, but that's just my life, isn't it? So, what we want to figure out how to do is leverage the motivation centers of the brain toward whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. I'm going to use a couple personal examples. So, as a kid, when I was in like 4th grade or whatever, I loved video games. I lived and breathed the video games of that era. So I would be sitting there in class, right, just itching to get home and play a video game. And then when I did get home and play a video game, I was happy, right? I was happy, and then I was sad when I had to stop playing the video game and do homework. I think most people can relate to that. Now, the thing is that it was the anticipation of playing the video game that made me feel that way. It was me sitting there going, oh man, I really want to see what happens next in the Ocarina of Time. I hope Link beats Ganondorf at some point. And video games are interesting like that because they are self-rewarding. I was diagnosed with ADHD as a teenager, and I remember my mother objected to the diagnosis, saying, well, no, he can totally focus. I mean, he'll play video games for hours. That's not like you can't sit down and do one thing. And my psychiatrist says, well, no, video games are self-rewarding. Things, in the case of ADHD, a lot of the time, as long as something is self-rewarding, people can focus on it just fine. You kind of want to try to get obsessed with the creation of music. As another example, and I know I'm going into a lot of stories and stuff. Don't worry, I'm going to get to the science and how you can apply this to yourself very shortly. Please don't click away. But as another example, I worked at Walmart for a number of years when I was in my late teens. But as another example, I worked at Walmart for a number of years when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And that was the last job that I've had before becoming self-employed as a musician. And in fact, it is what led me to becoming self-employed as a musician. It just so happened that when I started working, it also coincided with when I started learning audio engineering and started getting serious about my songwriting. So I would take whatever the mix of the day was with me on my iPod, and I would listen to it on break. I even kept this tiny little spiral notebook that I bought at Walmart, and this tiny little pen, and I would keep it in my pocket, and I would pull it out and write notes that I would notice on what I would need to change about the mix when I got home. Sometimes I would spend my entire break talking on the phone with my other guitarist because we just wanted to talk about music. And I noticed that suddenly there was that feeling of itching to get home and do something, but it wasn't to play a video game, it was to work on music. And as an experiment, I actually tried to double down on that. I started trying to be very, very conscious, almost in a meditative sense, of what I was looking forward to. And I would use looking forward to something as a way to increase my productivity in it when I could finally sit down and do it. So what you are actually doing here is creating a reward circuit. And the reason that this is so important, and the reason most musicians give up or never take it seriously, is because music is one of the least self-rewarding things that we can possibly do. You know, if you're at all like me, you have family and friends, mostly family, telling you the entire way, oh, you can't do that, you need to go out and get a real job, you need to have a fallback plan, you need to go get a degree, you need to... music is not... music should just be a hobby, right? There's that, there's societal pressure, there's the prevailing idea among musicians that you can't make money with music, which is one of the things that irks me the most and that I really hope I can eventually help to dispel through the information that I share with you guys. And then yes, there is the fact that we spend most of our time practicing things that are not self-rewarding. You know, you don't get a huge shot of dopamine, this success blast going off in your brain, from being able to play a solo 5 BPM faster because you sat there listening to a click for an hour, slowly speeding it up. That's not fun. That's horrible, that's boring, and I hate it, and I don't do it anymore because I don't need to. because I found better ways to practice. And I tell all of my students that you should not be doing this either. And it seems to work for them. So the point is to leverage dopamine, is to leverage anticipation and reward in order to make something self-rewarding that is not otherwise. And I do have to mention, actually, be careful with this. Like, I know that sounds weird. Be careful with a mental exercise. If you've ever done cognitive behavioral therapy or massive mental reprogrammings on your own, it's not fun sometimes. It can have consequences. And the consequence that I have observed with this is that you can actually become a little bit addicted to your work. Video games are not fun for me anymore, really. Very few hobbies actually do anything for me compared to music. And I would argue that's the state you want to be in if you want to get out there and crush it, right? But sometimes you just want to be able to sit down and play a video game for a couple hours without just sitting there itching, going, oh, I wish I was working on music right now. Like, can you imagine? So be sure to still do the things that you used to do that would be fun and dopamine inducing for you. But that's really the only caveat that I have here. That aside, yeah, this is the secret. This is how you get super motivated and really crush it in terms of getting out there and working, which is the biggest problem that most musicians have, is not being able to motivate themselves to put the damn time into it. Thanks so much for watching. I have new videos on motivation and creative mindsets coming out every Monday, as well as other music lessons coming out every single day, including marketing, instrumentation, songwriting, audio engineering. I aim to make this channel the single destination for anything and everything you need to achieve success in music.